So he mentioned, like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, yeah, I actually have one. I can interview you. And very professionally, because he friend zoned me, so I was matching that energy. I was like, here's my Calendly. Do you remember?
Calendly
I
appointment.
sent you a Calendly link.
And I filled it out. You're looking for the 1%. The right type of people are going to be 1% of the dates that you go on. Welcome to the Arrows Podcast. My name is Jeremiah. This is my wife, Monica. This podcast is a faith-based podcast that aims to guide you through the exciting world of Christian dating, engagement, marriage, raising kids, and everything in between. And we're so excited you're here.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be on this journey with you. And today in our first episode, we're going to talk about Christian dating.
Oh, la la. I like it. Before we jump into some practical tools and things that you guys can do along your dating journey, we want to share our personal testimony. So tell them, baby, how did we meet?
So we met on Hinge on a dating app, and we talked in February of 2022, and you liked me first. Got
each other's Snapchat and phone number.
Yeah. You actually asked for my Snapchat first.
It's funny because in the world of dating, I had learned that I was more successful when I got girls' number, that it was more personal than just getting their Snapchat.
Yeah.
That oftentimes when you get somebody's Snapchat, that it just goes by the wayside and then conversations turn to
And
nothing.
at that point in my dating, I've been online dating for 5 years. And so I got asked a lot about Snapchat and stuff, and I just felt like Snapchat is like where conversations went to die. Like it was just like a list of guys in the Snapchat. It just didn't seem very intentional and stuff. So we exchanged numbers, and then we talked for a few weeks.
A little bit, and then I felt like she wasn't interested. I could just tell she just wasn't responding too much. She had been going on a lot of dates. We both had been on a lot of dates. I mean, I had been dating hard for 5 years before I found Monica, and trying to do it the right way, doing it the wrong way, learning the hard lessons, and then had found Monica. But it was pretty cool. So, I mean, ultimately, we had said that doing a podcast would be really cool because we connected on the fact that we were dating.
Yeah.
That's how we rekindled, was I still had her Snapchat. She posted a story saying, I've been dating this guy, I've been on a few dates, and I'm trying to hurry up and cook dinner for the kids. I didn't know I was going to have to cook dinner tonight, and so I'm kind of rushing around a little bit frustrated. And I told this guy that, and he said, oh, I just want to cuddle you right now.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a red flag to say, to get so physical so quick and to disregard.
It was one of my biggest icks because it felt like I was explaining a situation and just trying to connect in a way. But like clearly all he was thinking about was just like, oh, you're cute and I wish I could cuddle you.
Yeah.
And so I went onto Snapchat where I had friends and guys and kind of did a funny little, post or whatever about like, oh my gosh, like this is so annoying. I hate dating.
Such an ick.
Such an ick. This is so gross.
And I responded and said, on the Lord's Day, he would do that? And she was like, I know, this and that. But we really connected about that. And she had been going on dates. I had been going on dates. And we started to text and send little voice memos through Snapchat, which is a very fond memory for us now. But we went out on our first coffee date, really, because I said, all this wisdom about Christian dating, this could really be a podcast. And so I, invited her as friends to go out to coffee. And I think
you didn't at first, because I did a podcast at the time, and we were like, so he mentioned like we should do a podcast, and I was like, yeah, I actually have one. I can interview you. And very professionally, because he friend zoned me, so I was matching that energy. I was like, here's my Calendly. Do you remember?
Calendly
appointment. I sent you a Calendly link.
And I filled it out.
to meet with me on like Friday at like 2 or whatever. And then a couple days before that, it was like, well, why don't we meet in person and see like how we feel in person before we like do that.
Try to do a podcast, yeah. And she was 20 minutes late, but she had come from a consult. She does photography on the side and come from a photography consult. Yeah. That was at 1:00, and there was no.
I was in contact though.
Yeah, she let me know. Yeah, she wasn't just ghosting me, but I had already got my coffee by the time she was there, and so she was mad that I didn't buy her coffee. I found out later, but I was really in the friends mindset of we're just getting to know each other. And for all you guys out there, I really recommend that when you meet somebody online that you really don't know each other yet. So be friends, build a friendship, build a relationship before you get into actual dating or exclusivity or commitment.
Yeah, not putting a lot of pressure. I know for girls, we put a lot of pressure on things, but I always like tell friends, like, you're just meeting another human. Like, just think about it as that. Go in with a sense of wonder of like, I wonder, what this guy is like, and I wonder if I'm gonna like it, and I wonder if we're gonna like get along, instead of putting pressure of like, oh, I really hope this works out. I really hope he's my husband, because in our experience, there was lots and lots of dates that it wasn't that.
Yeah, and I had seen that in my experience. Even my friends at church that were girls, they'd be saying, how was your date with so-and-so? And they would make it such a big deal. It puts so much pressure on something when you're trying to lay the foundation of something. You don't need weight on top of what's already hard and already hard to navigate. So that really worked for us.
Yeah.
Of course, we kind of fell in love quickly. And, I proposed within 3 months, and we married within 6 months of that first coffee date.
Yeah.
We've been married for 15 months now.
Yep.
So that's a little bit about our stories. So
Yeah.
now you guys know Jerry and Monica.
How we did dating.
Yeah.
Or the beginning.
That's cool. We love it, but we learned a lot in that. So we just want to share that wisdom, and that's why we're doing this podcast. So.
Yep.
So getting into some of the practical things for you guys out there, men and women that are trying to date specifically in the Christian niche, the Christian lifestyle, we have some things that we've prayed about and wrote out for you to help you as a little bit of a guide. So the first is setting the foundation. So Christian dating is about building a relationship on faith, shared values, and a commitment to grow together in Christ. So you need to establish that together.
Mm-hmm. And establishing your own relationship with God first. So if I wanted a husband or a spouse that was going to read my Bible, or, have him read the Bible or go to church, that should be something that I should be doing on our own first. So just making sure that we have a strong relationship with the Lord outside of another person.
Yeah. Some people get a little bit offended about this when they say, oh, what do they say? Don't put too much pressure on dating, or let God kind of lead you to the right person. You'll find your person when you're serving, and they'll just come along. I think sometimes that's good advice and it's well intended, but you do have to search. If you seek and you'll find, you do have to do that. So it's a little bit of both. You have to be patient in the waiting, but you also have to be forthcoming and go out there and go on dates.
Yeah.
So,
and if you want those core values in somebody else, making sure that you're walking in them individually first.
And I think that's the point of point one is establishing a foundation. Asking myself, what are my core values? What do I really love? What do I believe in? Where do I see myself going in the future? So that when you find somebody who's going that same direction, you say, there we go, it matches up. So that's good. A proverb that I found is Proverbs 3:5-6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. And I think that's such a great way to start, is lean not on your own understanding. There will be times where dating is confusing. There'll be times where there's ups and downs, and good dates and bad dates, good times and bad times. But lean not on your own understanding and trust in the Lord. You want to tell them what number 2 is?
Yeah, number 2 is prayer and discernment.
Yes. One of the key aspects of Christian dating is prayer. Seek God's guidance in your journey, individually and as a couple. Ask for discernment to recognize the person who aligns with your values and complements your faith. Ask God, bring the Holy Spirit's discernment into your dating journey, and let him lead you and guide you as you already should be doing in your life. Do it also with dating. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So ask God for your spouse. Ask God for the dates you're supposed to go on, where your attention and your mindset is supposed to be. Think on those things.
Yeah. And ask God. I used to pray a lot that God would close doors. Because with girls, we romanticize things and can see little signs oh, this must be that, God wants me to be with this guy. But praying that God would shut the door was something that I prayed a lot, especially coming from rejection and stuff. It's so easily to feel rejected or offended if a guy ends things. But if I'm going forward with praying that God will shut that door, if he ends it for whatever reason, I can really celebrate that and praise God in that.
It's so hard because your heart is in it. So when you're dating, you develop a relationship and most of the time an attachment with people you barely know. And then you're trying to pray about it as a Christian as well and say, am I supposed to continue in this? You know, it's hard when the Lord says no, but then you have a heart attachment to that person. And so it kind of pulls you in two different directions. So that's why we say a lot of these things to start a friendship first and not put a lot of weight on the foundation before it's time, because it makes things harder. It makes things crumble and crack. And so,
yeah, you need a solid foundation because relationships can be hard and marriage is beautiful, and we'll talk about that in future episodes, but you need a solid foundation because it will crush under that pressure of trying to do things earlier, talk about things, emotional things too soon in the beginning of the relationship. The foundation can't hold it.
Yeah, and we talk about the stages of a relationship. That you start with friendship, then you could be non-exclusively dating, which means you're dating and other people may be involved. Maybe talking to other people as you're feeling it out. Then you decide to be exclusive, like we're boyfriend and girlfriend, or those could be separate. But usually exclusivity, it just means you're exclusive. You're my one and only. I'm going to stop talking to everyone else and pursue you only. Then it would be engagement and then your wedding day.
Yeah.
It's just a way to, that's not written in the Bible, but I think that's a good way to lay it out to say, are we ready for the next step? It's a way to baby steps, the ultimate goal of getting to marriage. So those baby steps were really helpful for us, and we could discern how quickly. Sometimes we move quickly to the next one. Sometimes the bigger baby steps took a little bit longer. And we were able to talk about it with each other because we had that roadmap. We could say, here's the roadmap. We're here on step 1. Okay, let's get to know each other. And then we ask each other, are we ready for step 2? Are we ready for non-exclusive dating?
Yeah.
Are we ready for exclusive dating? Yeah. And so it's a good way to keep your heart in check and understand, are we on the same page?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big miscommunication between a lot of people who are in dating relationships is, I may fall in love with Monica, but she's really just having fun going on dates and doesn't love me the same way or see the same future that I see.
Yeah. So check-ins are good.
Check-ins are always
Define
good.
the relationship.
In the right way.
Yeah.
I think some people can be so like, are we good? Are we good? Are we ready for the next thing? Like, have some patience.
Yeah, I bugged a lot with exclusivity when we dated. I was constantly trying to check in.
And don't assume.
Yeah, assumptions
don't assume,
are not good.
I thought we were exclusively dating. Like, the baby steps happen when you both have a conversation about it. So don't assume.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3 is know your values. So go ahead and read this one.
Yeah, so as Christians, our values are deeply rooted in our faith. So take the time to identify your core values and discuss them openly with your partner, the person you're dating.
So true. So 2 Corinthians 6:14 says, do not be yoked together with unbelievers, for what does righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? Our values are deeply rooted in our faith as Christians. Mm-hmm. So knowing your values, going back to point 1, laying that foundation, you have to know what you believe. You have to spend time personally alone with God. You should already be attending church and reading your Bible and doing all the things before you go and search for the right person. Mm-hmm. I always say, become a husband before you find your wife, or become a wife before you find your husband. Mm-hmm. You should be on your wedding day presenting yourself as a living sacrifice to the other person and kind of giving them all that you've worked on. You've really worked on yourself. You've gathered the skills. You've learned how to take care of yourself and all those things. And then you really present that as a sacrifice and a gift to the other person on your wedding day. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. And you're talking about it in the relationship. You're talking about your values and hot topic things and awkward things. Purity's always one that, women, I don't know, guys bring it up. I feel like as a woman, I brought it up a lot with guys that I was dating. And if it didn't match up and we didn't see eye to eye on that, then I knew, that he wasn't, going to be the guy for me. And typically, at least in my experience with dating, if he's not already walking in those core values, it's not our job to save them and make them walk in those core values. It's okay to walk away and recognize that this is not going to be a good match, because you want to be equally yoked in the marriage, especially as a woman wanting somebody who's going to be a spiritual leader.
Yes, that's true. And that leads us right into our main concerns. one of the main concerns that we reached out to people and said, hey, what's one of your main concerns in Christian dating? And they said the number one that came up again and again was intimacy. So many women responded saying, in their experience, most Christian men were not up to the intimacy restrictions they wanted, or they would say they were, but then would try to get further. And so that's very common. I know you can probably speak to that. I know how many times did you have guys that you really thought were good Christian men, but you noticed they struggle with that physical, trying to push physical boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very common on the woman's side that we think it's a certain way, and then conversations go, or you talk late at night, and then they may say something a little out of pocket.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just something that like you have to navigate and discuss, and be okay to walk away too. Like the guy that I was seeing right before Jeremiah, when I had that whole conversation about cuddling and stuff, it was like a clear, like, okay, this is an issue that you have that is going to be hard to partner with you on that. And it's not to shame them. Everybody's in their own journey.
It's hard.
So.
Yeah, waiting until marriage is hard. Yeah, we cannot sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
It is one of the hardest things that I've ever tried to do.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to make light of it and say, oh, this is so easy. Why is this hard for you? And one of the scriptures that my pastor gave me during my dating journey was, flee from sexual sin. So he was like, run. If you feel like you're about to cross a physical sexual boundary, you need to get up and run away. Don't walk, run. And tell the person you're dating, say, hey, I need to go home, and tell them why. Like, I really feel like I'm going to slip up if we continue with what we're doing. And it's always, it's kissing leads to touching leads to other things. And it's always one thing after the other. And once you go so far,
it's hard to go back. And say, oh, we're just going to hold hands now after we've gone further awakened
than that.
Love.
Yeah.
You have to talk. You have to communicate it.
It is. The second main concern that was reported was kind of submission / head of household, and understanding how wives are supposed to submit, how husbands are supposed to be the leader of the household, what that looks like to submit to a husband. And so this is such a hot button thing that comes up even today with our friends that are dating. They're saying, I know as a wife I'm supposed to submit, but I'm trying to find the right guy to submit to that'll be a good leader. Some even said, I want them to be strong but not abusive. So there's that spectrum of being strong but not too strong to where you're aggressive. But I just always want to remind people that Paul, when he's talking about submission, that same verse, he talks about the husbands dying, just as Christ died for the church and gave himself up for her. So the husbands actually have the harder thing to do. The higher call is to die for your wife, to die for your family, to completely give up your fleshly desires or what you might want to serve your family. Yeah. And then through, husbands leading through serving, the women can actually submit to that and should want to. Yeah. As women, you guys will want to submit to a guy who has died for his bride, has died to his flesh for his family. I would say, guys, if you're having trouble, if you're fighting with your spouse or significant other about submission, or you're dating, you're fighting about what that even looks like, I would question yourself, men, and say, have you died yet? And that's meant to be done inside of marriage, which is part of waiting to submit. Yeah, that's waiting good. To go fully in.
Yeah. And when you're dating as women, seeing, is this a man of character that I want to submit to? Because I think that was something. When I was dating, we haven't even mentioned this yet, but I was a single mom for 6 years before I got married to Jeremiah. And I would consider myself very independent. I had 2 little boys, raising them in the home without a father. And so I was very much like, ew, submission. Like, I can't do that. Like, it feels icky. Like, I don't even know what that looks like. But when we were dating, it was very easy for me to see that vision, because I knew Jeremiah was so, walking in integrity and desiring to lead well. He was doing that in his personal life and in his single life, and was serving at the church. So I could recognize that and be like, this is a man that I would want to submit to. So I think that's a question as women to ask while you're dating whoever you're dating.
Yes. One of the things that I say is when you find the right person, the other people that you were dating before, it will seem silly because they're such a good fit for you. So Monica was such a good fit for me that it seems silly that I would date other people. And I was like, wow, I'm thankful for the other relationships that I had. I think you learn a lot from relationships.
Yeah.
And thankful for that. But it's once you find the right person, it will seem silly, the other relationship.
I'm your favorite.
Because you're my favorite. All right. So number 4 is communication is key. Effective communication is vital in any relationship, and it's especially important in Christian dating. Be open, honest, and respectful in your conversations. So Ephesians 4:29 says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." So communication is key. What would you say about communication, babe? What's so important about it in a relationship?
I think it's important to have understanding. Like for me to understand you and for you to understand me, I think we need to communicate, whether that's communicating my needs or like we said earlier about like defining the relationship and where are we at and are we headed in the same direction. But yeah, I think it's very important to, have active communication also is something important. Like I need to know that you are listening. Communication's not just talking, but knowing that you're also listening to me, you're hearing what I'm saying. And even if you have to kind of reflect back of like, okay, I'm hearing you say blah, blah, blah. But,
That's a great tool. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is, it's a good way to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. Lots of clarification.
Yeah.
So you're learning about each other in dating and
in marriage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Every
And we may have different communication styles or the way that I grew up or the way that you grew up or whatever. If I grew up in a family where I didn't feel like I could communicate or my voice was like stifled or something, that's something that we can discuss and explore, especially while dating and getting to know each other. So, yeah.
And I think at all times, whether we like it or not, we're constantly communicating.
Yeah.
So silence is a communication. You're telling someone through your silence or a cold shoulder or whatever it is. So we just have to know that and kind of ask ourselves, what is my body language saying? Being attentive. One thing that I do, like when I'm laying in bed on my phone and relaxing and Monica comes in and is talking to me, I'll put my phone face down on the bedside table. So with my body language, she hopefully can hear or see that I'm trying to be an active listener.
And communication creates safety also, I think,
Yeah.
As especially while talking about dating, like in dating and while you're getting to know each other, like being each other's safe space to communicate about harder things, because you're going to communicate about little things. Oh, there's the bird. Oh, this is what I did today. Especially like online dating, it's like, what's your plans for the weekend? Like, but like when you're communicating, building that foundation, you're going to have to talk about the harder things when you're talking about the core values or your struggles or, we had to talk about our dating histories or, our childhoods, just creating that safety too, so that you can explore more communication.
And again, it's be open, honest, and respectful in your conversations.
Yeah.
And I think that is especially true in dating, all the way through marriage. We have to be open with each other, honest. I personally love when people are really open with me and they confide in me to tell me something that it may be hard to say or they haven't told a lot of people.
Yeah.
I really cherish those moments in my life where people have trusted me enough. It shows that they trust me, that I could be a safe place for them, and know that I won't share what they're saying. It's just between us, and I'll try to help them and comfort them through that. And so that's so connecting for me. I'm sure it is for a lot of people, but I know for me for sure. So when me and Monica are open and honest, I'd rather her, hurt my feelings being honest than to appease me by not telling the truth.
But there's honesty, which is like answering questions truthfully, being truthful. But then there's transparency also, which means I'm going to like tell you things up front, even if you're not asking me. Which is both are valid and both are really important. Yeah.
It's just way easier to tell the truth when you've messed up and ask for forgiveness than to be caught in something and then have to go back later and say, that was me. So That's good. Do you want to share number 5?
Yeah, number 5 is date in community. So surround yourselves with supportive Christian community and seek guidance from mentors, friends, and family who share your faith and values. And this is something we talked about this morning because it's like one of my number one advice that I give to friends is to make sure that you're dating in community.
Yeah. I think it's important for guys and girls. I think girls, we were talking about this morning for safety, to say, share your location.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm going out on a date tonight. I want you guys to know, here's the restaurant we're going to. We're supposed to meet there at 7. I'm going to share my location. If I'm not there or at my house, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Or something, just have a backup, especially for women. For men, not so much the safety, but just accountability is huge. To let them know. You may say, we've been on 3 or 4 dates. We're not exclusive yet, but I'm really struggling with my sexual purity. Like I really feel like if I'm not careful, I'm going to cross a boundary physically or sexually that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And so that accountability, someone older than you, either your age or older than you, but it's or more mature than you or further along, and get at least one guy on your side that's been through that journey themselves, and then keep them on your team.
Yeah. And they can see blind spots that maybe you can't see. So if I'm telling somebody like, this is... Actually, I can think of one thing. I was dating in the dating process and I went out with a guy and I didn't want to tell my friends certain things he was saying to me because I knew they would be like, "Ooh, that's kind of...
Red flag.
That's red flags." So keeping that honesty with my friends and dating and community, they could say like, "Hey, okay, maybe this is very flattering, but, this is not somebody you would want to continue dating." So, but they can see kind of blind spots that maybe, especially as girls, very romantical, they can say like, "Oh, maybe that's not good." And that's why you want someone who is more mature, who is more like a mentor and not just like
level-headed.
Yeah. That, not just like giddy little girls, just like, that's more a girl thing than a guy thing. But
one thing that we talked about was, what was the line? It was, "Oh, you're unlike any other girl I've ever met."
Oh, yeah.
Which is very flattering.
It's very flattering.
But there's nothing in there that's just another way to say you're really unique. Yeah. And I like that.
You're really special.
That's great. That's a great compliment. But, don't let it go too much to your head. That's not saying we're meant to be together. I want to marry you. That it's not to say this has to be right. It's a great compliment.
Yeah.
You're unique. You're not anyone, you're not like the other girls that I've met. You're not like the other guys that I've met. It's a great way to show interest, but don't let someone flatter you into red flag relationships.
Committing before.
Okay. And the last one is number 6, patience and trust. Christian dating is a journey, not a destination. Be patient and trust in God's timing. Understand that finding your puzzle piece match takes time. So Psalms 27:14 says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong, and take heart. Wait for the Lord." Remember, the plans God has for you are bigger and better than you could ever imagine. So we have to stick to that. We have to wait on the Lord. Like I said, it took me 5 years to find Monica, and there was lots of ups and downs in that. And I was serving in the church and seeking God that whole time. It took a long time to find her. And I always say you're looking for the 1%. So in Christian dating, you're not just looking for someone, any old person. There's not 40% of the population is going to be your match. It's going to be the right type of people are going to be 1% of the dates that you go on. So out of 100 dates, there might be one where you're like, I really could see myself marrying this person. I personally don't believe that there's the one. I know that's kind of a big subject, I don't believe that there's the one. There's only one person on earth that God has called you to marry. And if you don't marry that person, you've completely missed it. I just don't find that in the Bible. We find language like, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So that's kind of making me think there's multiple people that you could marry. It's not just one person out there. But if you're finding a good wife is what you're looking for. So you're looking for the 1%. Yeah. Is there something you want to say about that?
I mean, I love everything that you said. It took me 6 years to find you. But I think patience is a big thing. I hear a lot from friends who are dating. You're just like, "Oh, dating sucks." Like, this is the worst. And I said this morning, like, I mean, it can be fun. You can have fun. It doesn't have to be a negative a super negative experience. And I think for women, I tell them, like, keep your standards high and your expectations low. So my standards were always very high in dating. I knew, I love your language to it, about 1% in the puzzle piece, but I knew, that I was looking for somebody very special. And for me personally, like, it was like, I'd rather be single than settle. But I kept my expectations low, as in when I'm going into a date, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. I'm going to enjoy it, even if it meant I went on one coffee date with this guy and I'm never going to see him again. Like, just trusting that, we have a God who is so good and so sweet to us. He can provide somebody for us if we just keep, pursuing him and being patient and trusting his guidance and following his path, and, never grow tired of doing good.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So, and going back to that, have fun on dates. Go out there and explore.
Yeah.
It's okay to interact with the opposite sex. I think we can't demonize that.
Yeah.
That it's okay to have conversations and build relationships and build a friendship. Keep it exciting and fun while still keeping your values and your boundaries intact.
Yeah.
That dating can be amazing. It can take a long time to find your wife. You may find them on the first date.
Yeah.
We hope you do. That would be great. But ultimately, you're waiting for the right thing that will last a lifetime.
Yeah.
The person that you choose to marry is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. It's one of the very few lifelong decisions.
Mm-hmm.
There's not many lifelong decisions that we make in life. And then you'll likely have kids with that person once you have kids for your entire life. So make sure to lay the foundation, have great prayer and discernment, know your values, communication is key, date inside community, and have patience and trust. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been fun. We'll join you for another episode here in about a week. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.